The Bad Guys is the latest Dreamworks film and their first non-sequel since 2019. One could even say it's been their only good film in quite the period, but we won't get into that now. With a big movie, especially an animated one that has recently dropped, a lot of opinions have been formed on the internet. So we're going to take a look at some of the most popular ones and see which ones we agree with and which ones we despise.
You should have eaten him when you had the chance.
Yup.
I'm Kyle with WickedBinge, and these are the Bad Guys' opinions that we love and hate. And just a heads up, spoilers ahead. The first opinion that we wanted to tackle was that it's the first good Dreamworks movie since blank. Now, we say blank because almost any film could be inserted into that spot. Our writer's opinion is that the last great Dreamworks movie was 2017's Captain Underpants, while others haven't liked the Dreamworks movie since 2014's How to Train Your Dragon 2, or in some critics' opinion, 2004's Shrek 2. Now, the problems with recent Dreamworks films we'll get into in a moment, but it comes down to each their own. We really enjoyed the film, as evidenced by the fact that we've already made quite a few videos on the topic. But we have mixed feelings on the topic because we haven't been as critical as many of Dreamworks' recent films. The next take that we wanted to talk about is that it's good to break from the Dreamworks sequel train. This was a take from CellSpec's The Bad Guys is Great video, and we've brought it up briefly as well. Since April of 2020, the only Dreamworks movies have been sequels to previous ones, those being Trolls World Tour, The Croods The New Age, Spirit Untamed, and The Boss Baby Family Business. All of these movies have been bashed at best and dragged at worst for being bad films, some of which being sequels to films that many have argued were not great films to begin with. So, in our eyes, it definitely is nice to see a whole new property from Dreamworks, especially one based on a children's book series that they've been trying to make a movie about for a while. And given how great The Bad Guys was as an animated feature, we definitely love this take because it's honestly a relief to see something new. A very quick thing to discuss is the Pulp Fiction homage was a good place to start the film. This has been talked about in quite a few different reviews, but this specific take is from the aforementioned CellSpec's video. The opening few shots of the film mimic the opening of the classic film Pulp Fiction, to which many films pay homage. Obviously, it's not the same, but it's close, and it's a fun reference. So as huge Tarantino fans, we definitely have to say that we love this take. A take that we saw a lot of was that the movie is similar to Zootopia. Much like comparing it to Megamind, which we already did a video on, The Bad Guys shares a lot of similarities with the film Zootopia. This is beyond the anthropomorphic furry animals as main characters. It comes from a variety of things, including its theme. It shares a very similar theme to Zootopia, the idea that carnivorous creatures are frowned upon and racially profiled for being dangerous, limiting them from being good people. It even nails the same twist for a villain, with the cutesy, harmless, fluffy creature, either a sheep in Bellwether's case or a guinea pig in Marmalade's case, being massively evil creatures.
What do you say? We have some fun.
Honestly, we could very well discuss the two movies and their similarities for a while, and which one is better really comes down to preference, but we definitely agree with this take. The next idea is Marmalade is a fun villain, but the twist was dumb and/or predictable. Now, a lot of films recently have tried to hit the twist villain idea. Some succeed, like Turbo in Wreck-It Ralph, or Charles Muntz in Up, and others kind of don't, like Evelyn in The Incredibles 2, or Bellwether in Zootopia. Now, not every twist villain needs to be perfect to work, and it was pretty easy to see Marmalade become the villain. He was one of like 7 animal characters, and he says some things early in the movie that are obviously villainous, when you really think about it. Now, much like the opinion states, he is still a fun villain. However, he wasn't the greatest twist villain, which we definitely have to knock some points on. And we do agree with this take, because it was pretty obvious from the get-go. The next take that we want to discuss is that PIERRE, the director, knocked it out of the park for his directorial debut. This take comes from LS Mark in his YouTube video The Bad Guys Isn't Bad, but we want to make one little caveat. This is not technically his directorial debut, because he's been directing short films since 2015. That said, this is his first cinematic directorial debut, after working in the animation department of many Dreamworks films. But that's besides the point, because we definitely agree here that he really knocked it out of the park directing The Bad Guys. There are some little things we could pick apart, but that can be said for most movies, and The Bad Guys was a pretty awesome animated film. Another take from a lot of places, but specifically LS Mark's video, was was that the plot was predictable. This is a pretty quick thing to discuss because we've made mention of it already. The plot of the movie is very simple. A bunch of bad guys pretend to be good guys to perform a heist, and then realize they actually want to be good guys. Then of course there is the twist villain, Marmalade, and the twist that Governor Foxington is actually known criminal Crimson Paw.
But how do you know how to do all of that? Kick, kick, punch, punch.
Now this plot is very simple. There's no getting around it, and it is a kids movie, which is definitely part of it. Not to say kids wouldn't pick up on the plot, but the story is still designed to be pretty simple, and the plot doesn't exactly break new ground. So we have to say that we agree with this take. The final take from LS Mark is that Shark, Tarantula, and Piranha don't leave a strong impression. This stems from the fact that these characters aren't as front and center as Snake and Wolf are in the film. However, we think the three of them are fun characters and honestly some of our favorites in the movie. So we have to say that we disagree with this take, because we do think the three of them leave a long-lasting impression, even if they're not as important as Snake or Wolf. Shark is probably our favorite character, and Tarantula is a lot of fun too, though I suppose they could have been made more important. One take mentioned by YouTuber Saberspark is Crimson Paw shouldn't have been governor. Now we have to mention that Saberspark does not hold this opinion. He instead mentions it as a nitpick from other people. And we just don't understand this. We don't know how long it's been since Crimson Paw gave up to become part of politics and throw off the stereotypes, but it can be assumed it took her a while. Sure, she still has all her skills, so that implies it hasn't been that long. But we don't understand how it hasn't been long enough for her to become a governor. In fact, this is probably one of the best twists in modern animated movies, because we didn't expect it in the slightest. So we have to say, yes, we heavily disagree with this take as well.
Guess I'm still the best bad guy the world has ever seen.
A take a lot of people have had is that the characters are the best part of the film. In almost every review of the movie, it's almost universally agreed that the characters are the best part. Not the plot or the story or the themes, but the characters themselves. They're well written and well thought out, and probably some of the best Dreamworks has come up with since the How to Train Your Dragon films. And given the fact the plot is pretty simple, as we mentioned, we fully agree with this take. Speaking of good, we also want to talk about the idea that the animation is amazing. Yes, like a lot of films nowadays, it is a 3D animated film. However, they mix in plenty of 2D elements that make the film so much better, such as action lines taken from anime. The animation is uniquely stylized in such a way you couldn't mix it up easily with another film. It's very unique. In fact, almost every review cites the animation as a reason to see the film. And some, like LS Mark, say that even if the film was bad, he would recommend people to see the movie because of the animation. Because the animators definitely knocked it out of the park with the animation quality and the unique stylization. Another fun take to talk about is that the movie is a breath of new life for Dreamworks, which is our final reference to the Cell Specs video. And it basically points out that this movie is so different yet so perfect for a Dreamworks movie that it breathes new life into the studio. This plays off the aforementioned fact that this isn't a sequel, and also coming from the parody of the heist genre, as well as its striking art style and the severe uniqueness among its brethren. The sheer fact of how unique the film feels definitely lends to its freshness in our eyes, leading us to absolutely love this take. That said, the take that we need to talk about is that Piranha's fart jokes are bad. Now, this is something that exists in a lot of kids' films. Potty humor is something that comes up from time to time. Shrek did it, some Disney movies do it, and it comes down to the target audience. It makes sense because children love these kinds of jokes, and we can't blame them, since we all did when we were younger too. But for adults watching with their kids, they tend to get a bit annoying. We certainly can't blame the film for using them, but we have to agree that the movie would be better off without them. But then again, we're adults, we have no say in this. The final opinion we wanted to talk about comes from the director of the film himself, PIERRE. That being the race for realism is on its way out. Now this is another animation thing, and is a bit more wide in scope than the movie itself. But it does pertain to the film. When talking about the stylization of the film, he mentions that the race for realistic films in animation is on the way out. One of the biggest issues with more modern animation is trying to make it look realistic. Films from all the different studios shoot for reality, including the Toy Story series, Frozen, Encanto, and Shrek. You know, when it comes to the human characters, not the ogres. They still look cartoony and have cartoonish moments, but the designs are still meant to be realistic. After Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out, animated movies started to work more on style than realism, which many have said makes these modern animated movies a lot better. and this movie obviously fits into that category. And we can't wait to see more of this style in Puss in Boots 2, which also seems to have a very stylized art form to it. So we absolutely love this take and hope it stays true. But let us know in the comments section if you agree or disagree with any of these takes. And check out our other The Bad Guys videos, including The Bad Guys characters Good to Evil and Weak to Powerful. Remember to hit that notification bell, and most importantly, stay wicked.